Hello and welcome to Grow Your Coaching Business, the expert interviews. And I'm Jackie Jarvis, the walking business coach. And today I'm actually with the owner and founder of the Trusted Coach Directory, Helen Isacke. So hi Helen, thanks for joining me.
Hi Jackie, feels very strange being on the other side for a change.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little bit about Helen's interview. Helen's going to be talking about how to avoid the common mistakes setting up a coaching business. And as I said, Helen's the owner and the founder of the Trusted Coach Directory, which she launched in 2016, virtually as an empty shell. And now it has nearly 100 coaches registered on the directory and gaining benefit from it. And the directory is primarily for executive and leadership coaches and coach supervisors. But Helen actually has her own coaching journey, which is the first part of the interview today. Helen started her coaching journey back in 2003. God, that seems a long time ago now, doesn't it, Helen?
It certainly does.
So she basically understands exactly the challenges that you're going through at this very moment, setting up and sustaining and growing your coaching business. And she openly says she's made probably as many mistakes as any of us make. And we're going to be talking a little bit about how to avoid those mistakes. And Helen's also going to be sharing a bit about the Trusted Coach Directory and the Trusted Coach community. So I'm looking forward to asking Helen some good questions. So Helen, tell us a little bit more about your background. I just skimmed the surface there with that introduction. So tell us a bit more about your background.
Okay, well, I suppose let's just stick with the coaching background. As you were saying, yeah, I started my coaching journey back in 2003 when I did my coach training with the Coaching Academy, who back then were the most established coach training school in the UK, and they were just 5 years old. So it's quite a new industry. So I did my first training with them, and I qualified, graduated, whatever you call it, with a distinction, which I was very proud of, in 2004. And I set up my own coaching business, Crown Coaching, in 2004, November 2004. Totally from scratch. You know, some people do some coach training while they're still employed. They go back to their employer, you know, big organization, and do some coaching. But I literally started from scratch. Out networking, you know, of course, putting a website together, trying to tell people, educate people actually what coaching was, because I mean, even today there are lots of people who don't understand what coaching is. But yes, you know, back in 2003, 2004, people just assumed a coach was a counsellor or a trainer. So yeah, that was an interesting time.
And how long did it take you to actually win your first client?
Oh gosh, no, that's a question I didn't give you. How long did it take? Actually, I'll tell you what I did. When I was doing my training, I had, I don't know if you're still calling these, I had guinea pigs. So we were, you know, training, giving coaching away for free. And once I qualified, I went back to my guinea pigs and said, I'm qualified now. And, you know, if you've enjoyed this coaching and are still benefiting from it, I'm going to charge you if you want to continue. And I had 3 coaching clients straight away. I wasn't charging very much. I think I was charging £40 an hour or something, wow, you know, back in 2004. Just, you know, for a few more sessions, and it went on. So yeah, I got some paying clients quite quickly once I got qualified, but then it was, you know, trying to charge some decent money, or what felt decent then.
Yes. So I know on your journey, because obviously you've built up a coaching business and now you're building up the directory. So you've made, I think you openly admit you've made mistakes on the road.
Oh, just one or two.
and you've learnt from them. So yeah, what just give us some idea of some of the things that you've learnt from on the journey. Call them mistakes, but you've actually learnt from them.
Well, I suppose, well, let's just talk about mistakes. And gosh, there are so many. We haven't got that much time here. You know, one of the first mistakes I remember making was just saying that you can coach anybody on anything. And, you know, it's kind of, you know, anyone with a pulse You know, you think, oh, well, anyone needs coaching. You know, you come out of coach training school with these tools and the skill set, and you know, you just want to go and help everybody that you can talk to. So you're looking for, you know, anyone makes a bit of a comment about something that's not going wrong, you know, we're trying to fix them, or I was trying to fix them. And if I was out networking and people said, so, you know, what do you do? And it's like, I'm a coach. And expecting them to know what that meant, but just thinking, you know, I could coach anybody on anything. You know, they were saying, well, who do you coach? And I said, well, anybody. So, which doesn't help at all. And it just meant that, you know, something I learned from you, because, you know, as you know, I learned a lot of what I know about sales and marketing from you, going back quite a few years. And I know you need to have a niche. So that was my first mistake in the early days, was not having a niche.
Yes, and then you mentioned things like website and, you know, the kind of inclination, isn't it, to get all your marketing collateral together before you've really got going, isn't it?
Oh, so gosh. Yeah, I mean, that was one thing. Yes, having a website, and you can't really start building a website until you know who it is that you want to work with. So I suppose in the early days, it was very much life coaching for me. But it wasn't just a website. It was, back then, I just thought, right, I've got to put an advert in the local paper. And I remember, I know we are talking about 2003, and I know the internet came along, but I just thought, you know, it's one of a way to advertise yourself was to put an advert in. And so I carefully crafted what I thought was this great advert, which, God, embarrassing when I think back to it. And I remember when it went in the local paper, I thought, well, I can't go out. I've got to wait for the phone. You know, the phone's going to be ringing. And clearly, you know, no surprise, nothing happened.
But you see, in today's market, there's so much noise. There's so much happening. Even your little, you know, bit of social media and kind of sporadic marketing just doesn't really have much impact these days, does it?
No, for lots of reasons. Yeah.
So any other mistakes that you know?
Oh gosh, all right. So not having a niche, thinking I could coach anybody. You know, we talked about the marketing, marketing in the wrong places, going to networking events just because I like talking to people without having a plan. You know, that was another thing. You know, I would go without any real intention. Also, I think a mistake was not being able to articulate what it was that I was doing. You know, I said about having to educate people about coaching, and you can talk a little bit about what coaching is, but yeah, I would waffle. I waffle anyway, but when you're networking, and it was also, sometimes it's very easy just to spout out and get really excited about coaching, and people still don't understand what it is. And for me, the power of when you are networking, it's more about asking questions and finding out what's going on for somebody, and then throwing some questions back, and then going, well, actually, that was a coaching question that I was asking you. Or even giving a case study. I find that's much more powerful. It's almost like having a pitch, saying very broadly what it is that you do and who you work with, but then just saying, these are the challenges I've noticed with these types of people.
Yeah.
And through coaching and asking some very, or maybe challenging coaching questions, or reflecting back what I'm hearing, you know, it's helping people to move on. And by having a few coaching conversations, it means that this person can now do A, B, and C, or they're not doing X, Y, and Z anymore.
Yeah. So you're basically saying that initially, perhaps you rushed out there to market yourself before you'd really thought a lot of things through. You know, in terms of what you were going to say, who you were targeting, what niche you were operating in, and the steps that you were going to take to win those clients. So there was a lot of going out there and doing stuff, and then realizing afterwards that you've made a mistake, and you perhaps should have taken that step back and learned what you needed to be doing first.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it is. I hadn't really thought it through, even though, you know, it's something I was doing. I was going out and going to seminars. I was going to say webinars. We didn't have webinars back then in the day, but going to seminars. You know, I remember coming to some of your seminars, going to other marketing people's seminars, and trying to learn what I should be doing. And I remember being told, give taster sessions. People don't know what it is. Give a taster session. But the mistake that I made was, well, hopefully not a mistake, but offering a taster session. The mistake was A, not getting any money for it, and B, giving away far too much. And at the end, because I wanted to demonstrate the value, I'd be giving away too much, obviously I wasn't fixing their problems, but facilitating those discussions so that the potential client would go away at the end of it going, oh, that was great. Yeah, I'm fine. See ya.
Yeah, yes.
But what I wasn't doing was, kind of eliciting, other stuff that they could, where they would benefit for some coaching. And another thing that ties on to that was at the end of the coaching session, at the end of the taster session, I wasn't charging them, but at the end of it, I was saying, oh, well, if you found it beneficial, you know where I am. There was no sales conversation. I wasn't finding any pain. I wasn't, exploring, where the coaching would be useful and offering some kind of a program. It was just, come back if you feel like having another chat. There's no process going on at all. It would make you squirm.
But it is interesting, isn't it? Because you learn, I can remember when I got, learned how to coach, I was working for EMAP at the time, and I was actually paid, so I got the chance to kind of use my coaching skills whilst on a salary, which was quite useful. But I still remember when I did the course, being that excited about taking it back, and you wanted to use it and help people and do all these great things with it. You get almost overexcited with it, and they don't really help you much with well, how are you going to build a coaching business? And that's the challenge, isn't it? It's that you don't know what you don't know, so you actually go out there thinking all this passion to help and live your purpose and share your skills, but you can't share your skills unless you have the right clients knocking at the door. Can you?
Yeah, that's right. Or you need to be fishing in the right pond, and you need to know which pond you want to be fishing in.
Yeah, I can remember that. I think I've used that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've worked with you've built a business yourself, and then you made the decision to switch and help other coaches to generate business and learn about sales and marketing. So you set up the directory. But what would you, reflecting back now on the younger you starting that coaching business in 2003, what advice would you give that younger Helen if you could go back and rerun it?
Gosh. What would I do? The first starting point would be, well, obviously, making sure you've got the right training behind you before you start going out there, setting up a coaching business. Because one of my bugbears, and a lot of coaches who I've spoken to know all about this, one of my biggest bugbears is the fact that anyone can call themselves a coach, that it's an unregulated industry, which is really frustrating for those of us who have spent thousands upon thousands and hours and hours and hours and months and years putting the training in to be, a good quality professional coach. And so it's having your credentials behind you. Because I think, particularly if you're trying to get into organisations, you'll be challenged more now about your credentials. I certainly hope so anyway. Because it's the coaches who are people who say they're a coach and have had no training, or maybe just a weekend, quick weekends training, that are giving us professional coaches a bad name. So get your credentials in place. And then of course it's having a niche. Who's it you really want to work with? Who do you enjoy working with? Who do you feel you give most value to? Because I think that really helps. And that helps because once you know that, when you're out doing your networking, if that's what you enjoy doing, and somebody says to you, so Jackie, what do? You can say, I work with senior executives, women senior executives who are just returning from maternity leave, and they're facing these particular challenges. So all of a sudden the person you're talking to knows exactly, they can identify, or somebody potentially like that who might want to work with you.
Or they may be that person.
Or they may be that person. Yes, it could be. But, when you're out networking, it's remembering you're not just talking to that person in the room. You're they're going to carry on your story to other people.
So it would be definitely having a niche, and then also what would you do to ensure that you got that flow of business, you know, right from the get-go, as opposed to you know, spending quite a lot of time in kind of up and down feast and famine cycles?
Oh my goodness, do you know what, if I had the answer to that question, you know, I could really earn a fortune. I think we both know is that you have to be doing lots of different things. And yes, you know, you need your website, you need to be, you know, I learned from you about the sales ladder. You need to, you know, and have that funnel of people coming through that you communicate with. And it can be something, you know, it's building up your database, it's having a newsletter, communicating with people on a regular basis, it's demonstrating your expertise, it's giving a little bit away, you know, it's being on your social media platforms. I think to have I don't know who has a steady stream actually, or maybe that's just me and where I was back in the day. But it's doing lots of things to let people know that you are there and what it is that you can offer, and the results that you help other people get. And you have to do that through lots of different channels. There isn't just one thing. It's not just being active on LinkedIn or on Twitter or Facebook. And it's not just networking. It's not just being on the Trusted Coach directory. It's doing lots of different things. But I think it's also doing things that really fit in with your personality style. Because not everybody, you know, we automatically think coaches are, you know, we're a people person. And there's a beeping going on. It's because my phone battery's going, which I'm just going to get rid of in a minute. Otherwise I'll drive everybody mad. And I can dig these out. So it's where was I? Right, that's better.
It's a number of different things.
It's a number of different things, yeah. But it's remembering to keep doing your marketing activities even when you're busy. And that's something I learned in the early days, that you have to keep this marketing engine going, because when there's feast, it's great. You know, when we're busy, we've got all sorts of projects on. And it might not just be coaching. A lot of coaches also do training and various other types of development. So we can be very busy doing all sorts of things. But when those things come to an end, you think, as I did before I set up the directory, thinking, a few projects come to an end, looking at my diary thinking, oh, that looks a bit quiet, you know, have a few lunches out here, but actually I want to fill it with clients. You know, what do I need to be doing? And that's because I've probably taken my eye off the ball and let a few activities lapse.
I think today you see there's not overwhelmed, but I think we all can be overwhelmed with how much some people seem to be doing all the time. And I mean, you know, you've learnt to be a coach. You haven't necessarily learnt to be, you know, a professional marketeer, you know, a professional content writer, you know, so an awful lot of demands, I think, on a coach's mind and a skill set to get the flow of clients these days, you know, the activities that they do actually have to do in order to, you know, communicate what they do effectively and win clients and keep clients, you know, so there's a lot to learn. And I think that's what we've both talked about, that you can get overwhelmed. So the best way to learn about it is almost in bite-sized pieces, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you know, that's part of the stuff that I like that you did and the programs that I've done with you in the past. You know, when it's spread over a period of months, even, you know, almost a year, you are just doing it a step at a time. Otherwise, it is really sporadic. You know, 1 minute you're trying to do your website, next minute you're thinking, oh, I've got to do this on LinkedIn. The next minute you're trying to do something else that doesn't feel comfortable with you. Whereas it was something, well, one of the many things I learned from you was taking it a step at a time and actually being able to build it into your working week or your working month. So you're doing it on a regular basis.
And I think understanding what else is out there, because marketing is changing and methods are changing all the time. And I think, you know, understanding and picking up something from all the different experts that are out there doing various things to actually understand what it is that is available to you and how it can work. Because otherwise you can jump into something thinking it's the next big shiny object that is going to sort of bring the answer to your you know, your biggest prayer, the flow of clients knocking at the door. and then you invest in it, and then you realize, okay, it wasn't quite as shiny and new as I thought it was, and it's a little bit more to it than that. So I think actually understanding what is actually involved in creating a marketing plan, winning clients, having conversations and things and keeping that sustainable business is an ongoing process, isn't it?
It is, and also it's trying things out a step at a time and noticing what's working.
Yeah.
I could have kept putting adverts in the local paper, and spent thousands and thousands advertising, and nothing's happening, and not learn. Well, of course you learn from it, but you do have to, because we are doing lots of things, you have to stop and think what's working. But equally, I think you have to try things for a while as well. So it's a fine line, isn't it, between trying different things.
But also understanding, I think the first thing is understanding what something is supposed to be achieving for you and what direction you're actually going in the first instance. So a lot of thinking and research and planning and reflection and forethought, which what coaches are good at. We're all good at reflecting and thinking about what we actually want to do and where we want to go. So I think there's a lot of that in prior to taking yourself to market.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good point, because again, going back to the early days, I didn't research it. I just thought, I can help people do this without actually going to talk to people saying, do you want, would you like some help? It's actually, no, I'm quite happy being miserable, or I'm, quite happy being, having this level of stress. This is how I operate. But, going back to the directory before, I had this idea that this was really missing in the UK, that, there wasn't, I don't think there is another directory in the UK which focuses on promoting executive and leadership coaches. And when I had the idea, well, it was because I was looking for a directory like this to put, for me to put my profile on, and I couldn't find anything, and I thought, this is madness, there's nothing out here. And so I was quite excited, and then I thought, no, what would Jackie say? She'd say, go and do your research and check, there's a market out there for it.
Yes,
but I had to talk to a lot of coaches to make sure it's something that they wanted to be part of. Although I already knew a lot of coaches who were frustrated that they're struggling to get clients. But also there are a lot of HR people out there who I talked to when I was going to CIPD events or various networking events, asking them how they found executive coaches. And most of them said, oh, well, we get our coaches through word of mouth. And yet I say, so what happens if you can't find the right coach for a particular executive, because it's not a one size fits all? And the HR person go, oh God, I'm going to, and then we have to start trawling through websites, and it's a real pain. And so I said, if there's a directory with coaches who have had their credentials verified, would that be useful? And it was a resounding yes.
It's quite interesting, isn't it, Helen, your journey, because you started with an advert in the newspaper, and now you're helping coaches advertising themselves online effectively. Interesting.
It is.
It's almost gone full circle in a funny way, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. But I must say, even before I set up the directory, my background was in marketing. And so I've always had a passion around that. And as much as I enjoy coaching, actually, I don't know if I should admit this, but I just love getting the deal. I love getting the piece of work. That gave me a buzz. And yes, I get a buzz from working with a client. But I got to a stage where I felt I had to make a choice. Did I just want to coach all the time? Do lots of associate work and fill my diary with coaching? Or the alternative was, do I want to do sales and marketing? And the sales and marketing aspect and setting up the directory really excited me. And it still excites me. It frustrates me a lot of the time. But I love it when I see coaches getting really juicy piece of work. I think, that's it.
That's great. And I know that we're also going to talk about the next level of the Trusted Coach Directory. So having built it to 100 coaches at a certain level, you then came up with the idea of building the Trusted Coach community. So what stimulated that idea?
Well, I've spent 3.5 years now talking to coaches Coaches who wanted to come on the directory, want to find out more about it. And I've had so many. If I had £1 for every conversation I've had, I'd have a small fortune.
Yeah.
But I was talking to quite a few coaches who didn't meet the criteria, and they were frustrated that they'd just come out of coach training school, or they'd been coaching maybe for a year, or they'd been doing in-house coaching, for example, and were looking how to break into or break out of corporate and maybe set up their own coaching practice. And so these coaches who didn't meet the criteria for coming on the directory, but were saying, so what, they were asking me questions like you were asking me just now, saying, so what did you do when you first set up? How did you get your clients? And so what did you do? So, I'm very happy to share what I've done. I haven't got the answers to everything, but I'd be saying, so who do you want to work with? And, do you like networking, or are you more of a writer? And so I'll be talking to them, giving them hints and tips on what to do to try and get their business off the ground, or to generate more interest. And I just thought there are a lot of coaches out there who, as we talked about before, they're brilliant coaches, but they're not trained in sales and marketing, and nor do they really want to be a professional marketeer. But when you're running your own business, you need to have some idea of how to sell yourself. And from the directory point of view, we can and we do a lot to drive traffic to the website and to the coach profiles. But if somebody then contacts the coach to find out about working with them, and if they don't have a process and know how to have a sales conversation, and how to get the business, or if their profile isn't written in a way that's engaging with their ideal client, then they're not going to get that business. So these coaches I've been talking to, who can't come onto the directory, but who really want this information and want to find out how to grow their business, I just thought there must be something that we can offer them here to help them on that journey. And also these coaches are saying, but we love being on the newsletter. We like to hear about the events that you're running and that other people are running. We love the information you're sharing. How can we be part of your community, even though we're not ready to come on the directory? And why I thought, well, actually, I know somebody in sales and marketing who's got all of this material called Jackie Jarvis. And Jackie, we've known each other for quite some time now. I don't know whether it's 10, 12 years or so.
Yeah.
And I learned such a lot from you, and how you put material together, I think is really helpful. And I know your material you can apply it to different industries and different small businesses, but I found it particularly useful as a coach. And I just thought we can be helping the newer coaches and help them to pick out of your material what works for them. And so I started to build up a package for what I call a Trusted Coach Directory community coach. So they're not a listed coach on the directory, but they can be part of our community. And that package includes, your material, and I know it might be 10 years old, your sales fast track, and it's audio. It's perfect if somebody likes learning, through their ears. They like listening to stuff and reflecting and thinking it through. That material, I still listen to it on occasion. Oh. Yeah. And I think,
amazing.
Actually, because I've still got access to it. I don't know if you know that.
You're welcome.
Which is all part of it. And I found that really helpful. But also you did your 50 quick wins, and that's really nice. Your short videos, I like them because they're the 7-minute videos that come into your inbox once a week. And it doesn't take much just to allocate half an hour, even a week, just to watch that quick win, look at the worksheet, do a bit of thinking, think, do you know what, actually, I can do X, Y, and Z, and set yourself a little action. And maybe not all of them are appropriate for everybody or applicable, but a lot of them are really useful. And then what I absolutely love, and one of the biggest things I learned from you, and sorry, this is not a mutual admiration society, I'm just being really honest here. Okay, your natural stress-free selling program, when I listened to that and watched it, I just learned such a lot. I shouldn't say this, but it's not rocket science, but you don't know what you don't know. But I learned how to have a sales conversation, not to And I still don't like the thought of selling to somebody and selling. I don't want to sell people something they don't want. I just want to find out, what are the challenges, and have we got anything, or have I got anything I can help them with? And just, you don't have to sell to people. You just need to learn. They're coaching skills, actually. It's just asking the right questions. It's reflecting back, listening to what it is, and just seeing if you've got something that you can help them with. You're helping people to progress. So I particularly love that product. So, I'm really happy. I think coaches should have access to this material because it's invaluable. Yeah, you do, if you're on the directory or not. But the other things I wanted to package in was some CPD things. We've got some fantastic coach supervisors on the directory, and a lot of these supervisors are willing to give an introductory taster to supervision for those coaches who haven't experienced supervision. I don't understand how coaches can coach without supervision.
Yeah,
it's something I was introduced to right in the early days, right at the very beginning of my coaching journey. I still have supervision to this day, even though my coaching clients are dwindling. But when I miss supervision, I really miss it. And I'm in group supervision. I learn such a lot from the others. So I just wanted to offer some, an introductory session to new coaches, just for £75, just for them to experience it, because it is invaluable.
So we've got, just to summarize a little bit, so far we've got this additional coach community that you've set up, which means that coaches that are not fully qualified can take advantage of being part of your community. There's a whole bunch of sales and marketing training resources that I've created that we've got into the package, and there's supervision training, a taster session with a provider. You've got I know lots of CPD events as well, haven't you, Helen?
Yeah, this is something we're planning, and I love running events. It's just incredibly time consuming, and we've recently become part of a partnership with the Institute of Leadership and Management, and they're really keen to run events with us. Where with me, I can make decisions really quickly, and we could be planning events up and running quite quickly, although it is, a lot of work goes into it. With the Institute, it takes a little bit longer to do. So these events we are going to be running, as we talk here today. We have been running quite a few events in the past. There just seems to be a bit of a quiet phase at the moment, but those will be back up and running. So members of the coach community and also listed coaches, will get discounts to attend those events. The other thing that we're including in this, due to public demand, as you might say, a few coaches have come to me who are not on the directory saying, can I promote my event on your events page, or can I write a blog for you? And I've said, well, actually, only our listed coaches can write blogs, because blogs are great at demonstrating what the coaches do, and it's a nice plug, and we put them on LinkedIn and on Twitter and in our newsletters. So I'm including, as part of in the coach community membership level, those coaches could submit up to 3 blogs a year, and they can also promote an event, that three events a year, which will be promoted for a month at a time. So again, and that promotes them, even though you're not listed on the directory, those coaches can, be getting a bit of marketing through the directory, but it'd be very clear that these coaches are not listed, so they haven't been verified by us, but it's still a great opportunity to get out there.
That's excellent. And I also know that obviously we've been creating these expert interviews and the whole range of experts.
How could I forget that?
You couldn't forget those. So they'll also be included in the coach package, aren't they?
Yeah. We've just redesigned the resources page on the directory so that some of our resources, which are very valuable, are member-only resources. So up until now, so for the last 3 years, anybody could access any resource on the directory. Some of those resources are, a recommended book or an ebook or a video or a webinar or a special offer even. But some of those resources, for example, the expert interviews that you do, Jackie, you get some really interesting speakers who add a lot of value, and they're really generous with their information. And I know because I listen to and watch every one of them before we put them up onto the directory. So I know, and I learn such a lot from them. I'm scribbling notes away.
No, they are great.
And I know you do too.
It's a great way to get up-to-date value,
Yeah.
and especially with the questioning technique and everything, really pulling out the
Yes.
nuggets, because we only
Yes.
really, when you think about it, we take 1 or 2 ideas away, and if we do something with it to make a difference, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And
it is. It's a great time to reflect as well, isn't it? And to think about your LinkedIn profile, or if you're putting a presentation together, and if you're going to do a workshop. I was listening to the presentation slide man just earlier this morning.
And also we've got coaches that examples of ones that are now on 6-figure salaries, or 6-figure businesses that started from nothing, all the kind of lessons they've learned on their journey and what's worked and hasn't. And those, the mix of those with the other experts in different areas of marketing, I think is fantastic. And that resource will continue to build and be available to both the Trusted Coach Directory people and the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing we're doing is negotiating discounts for our coach community and listed coaches. So I'm talking to one of the insurance companies at the moment, coach training schools, private health care, things like that, just to, because we've got a great big database of coaches. So, it's win-win, and that's what I'm always looking for. Is a win-win. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's a great point, just to kind of summarize a little bit, and also tell you a little bit about how to find out more information about the Trusted Coach Directory and the Trusted Coach community. So I'm going to share your contact details now, Helen, and then we can tell people how they can make contact with you and what's on offer.
So while you're showing that, Jackie, and now it's just about to come up on the screen.
There we are.
Probably the easiest way to find out more about it, or if you're thinking about joining the directory, whether it's a listed coach where you'd be verified, or to join the coach community, the different membership level, when you go onto the directory, top right hand corner, I think of every page, you can click on to sign in or to join us. When you click on join us, it takes you to a page, and it tells you about the criteria that we ask for you to become a listed coach. And if you don't meet that criteria, there's a link underneath that, just to say click here to find out more about the community coach. So you click on that link and it tells you a bit more information, and that's where you can click to join.
Okay, so if you've enjoyed watching this interview and you really feel like, wow, I really need to find out more about the Trusted Coach community and maybe join us, or the Trusted Coach Directory, here's the contact details you need, and we'll look forward to helping you some more, won't we, Helen?
We certainly will. And if you want to email me, email helen@trustedcoachdirectory.com, or just pick up the phone. I'm always happy, as long as I'm free, very happy to have a chat and to tell you a bit more.
Okay, so I think we could draw the interview to a close, and thanks everybody for watching and listening, and look forward to seeing you within the directory.
Great. And thanks, Jackie. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this.
Bye then, Helen.
Bye, Jackie.